What's up, family? This is Kevin M. Tucker, your favorite cousin, relationship and leadership strategist, author, and communicator. Welcome to the Core Podcast, where, yes, we are back to cut to the core again. And y'all know how we do it. We're going straight to what's been messing with your peace, your mind, your relationships, and everything that stands in your way. So let's get straight to it. The pressure or the desire to always feel perfect or always execute perfectly has been affecting many of us, especially as we're growing. You know, we're growing, we're evolving, and trying to stay true to who we are. I mean, absolutely no filters, no facade, just simply authentic. And today's episode is about trying to help you stop chasing perfection. I know that might sound odd to somebody, but I'm telling you, this high pressure desire has been blocking way too many people from moving forward and killing people's dreams. And let me tell you, this episode is personal for me. When I think about to the core, I think about one of my core values for this particular podcast is vulnerability. Now, remember that word because we're going to come back to it later. But my thought is the more open I am with you, the more you will see clearly why it is that we go straight to the core and the easier it is for you to trust and relate. I mean, let's face it, I don't have time to downplay anything. I've been through a lot. I still go through things, real issues, real challenges, mental blocks, emotional ups and downs, just like you. So for me, it is real life. And I know y'all can understand that. This is absolutely real life. And that's why on this show, I refuse to dehumanize myself or you by pretending we are invincible, because we absolutely are not. And that's exactly why we're here. So let me tell you how we got to this topic. Anything that I do or touch, I want it to be excellent, just right, to the best of my ability. And the truth is, when I started this podcast, I thought about all the things that I needed to get or do to get this podcast just right. The angles, the sound, the lighting, the script, the questions, all the normal things that makes a podcast good. But after episode 1, I showed a couple of clips to 2 of my boys. One said he loved it, but he said, man, Kev, there's only one thing about the episode that I didn't like. And he said, me knowing you, the level at which you do things, you need to get you a high quality camera. Like, your phone is good, but you need to get you a high quality camera. Then I showed the clip to another boy of mine, and he said, Kevin, I love it, but that glare in your glasses is getting on me. It's getting on my nerves, or whatever he said. He said something to that effect. And I thought to myself, okay, I can work with that, because that's preferential. Some people that bother, some people that not bother. But then I started thinking to myself, do I re-record it or do I not re-record it? So I'm like finding myself in between. But then I thought what my mentor told me. Do it at the level that you on. Do it raw. So I thought to myself, you know what? I'm committed to recording this episode. It's already done, but I refuse to re-record it for anything that's not perfect. You know why? Because there's a level of freedom that comes with vulnerability in the right ways and at the right moments. And I want you to grow with me. My boy said to me, he said, bro, just use my camera until you get one. Because I told him, I had already told him, I said, man, somebody might even sponsor my camera. Like, bro, I'm not an anxious person. And y'all remember episode 1, I talked about anxious shots. And so here it is today, episode 2. Guess what? I'm using the camera that he let me borrow. So, hey, there you have it. But by the way, I know this might be off script, but do y'all see my wife's VARSITY jacket? Listen, I got to tell y'all, we dropping some merch soon that y'all are going to love, but I felt like wearing this one today. But back to this perfection thing. I began to think about it, and the thought came to me, don't focus on success through perfection. Focus on execution. And that hit me because everything that we're trying to do in life, whether it is building businesses, raising families, chasing dreams, starting ministry, it all comes down to these 2 questions. Number 1, do you have the courage to start when it's not perfect? And number 2, how many things in your life are stuck in the almost stage because you're waiting for them to be perfect? If I had waited for perfect, you wouldn't be hearing me right now. In fact, this podcast is not about showing the finished product. It's a space where you get to walk with me and others through our imperfections, the struggles, and the messy middle. And that takes vulnerability. Listen, really, I can't begin to tell you how crucial vulnerability is, man. But if that hits you, I want to take a moment to tell you about my book, The Core Lifestyle. It is for anyone who's ready to meet life's toughest issues with action and a plan. In this book, you will gain gain the wisdom to confront uncomfortable truths, live free, win with integrity, start hard conversations, and essentially just dig down to the root of your issues. So you can grab a free copy of chapter 1, or you can purchase your copy today. The link to both are in the description below. But I want to get back to this conversation, and I want to talk about the trap of perfection, because here's what I've learned. Perfection looks good on the outside, but it can be a trap on the inside, y'all. Hear me when I'm telling you, it can be a trap on the inside, and research backs this up. Psychologists calls it perfectionist paralysis. It's the idea that people get so focused on getting things just right that they never actually do the thing, or when they do execute with the pressure of perfection, it comes at a cost. In fact, a study was done by the American Psychological Association. They found that perfectionism had increased 33% over the last 30 years among millennials and Gen Z. Why? More pressure, more comparison, and more paralysis, because perfectionist is rooted in fear. Fear of failure, fear of judgment, and fear of not being enough. The Harvard Business Review even did a study, and they found that perfectionists in the workplace are more likely to burn out and experience anxiety and depression. And then in 2019, I recall a study in the Frontiers of Psychology found that perfectionism was strongly linked to procrastination, stress, and even depression. But there's one more that I want to give you. This young lady, psychologist by the name of Samantha Stein, wrote an article in Psychology Today where she wrote about how people set their standards high but constantly feel like they failed. And it was because of the 3 Ps is what the article called them. And I want to give them to you really quickly. The first one is perfectionism. Can be defined as striving towards impossibly high goals, because perfectionism believes if it isn't perfect, it's horrible. While aiming high can help us become successful, aiming for perfection sets goals always beyond our reach. That's why people feel like they're a failure, because they're setting goals that are so unattainable. And then number 2, procrastination. Perfectionism leads to procrastination. Setting our goal to an impossible height can lead to delaying a project until the perfect time, which may never happen. Over planning, indecision, never being able to complete the task because it isn't perfect yet, all leading to procrastination. In other words, this will prevent you from starting a task, and then you put it off until later because you think it won't be perfect. And then number 3, the final one, paralysis, is the outcome of the perfectionism procrastination loop. As time goes on, you come to a complete halt and the project or goal simply fails. Listen, I'm really giving y'all these stats because I need you to understand how real this is in the lives of so many people. I'll even go as far as to say that 9 times out of 10, you have experienced this or know someone perhaps who have experienced this or even dealing with it right now. And if that's you, just comment, I do. Come on, connect with me and let me know that I'm not in this by myself, because I've been in all 3 of these stages before. So here's the question I want you to think about. What has perfection already cost you? The book you didn't write, the business you didn't start, the conversation you didn't have, the move you didn't make. Here's the thing. Fear always disguises itself, and it sounds like this. I'm just waiting for the right time. I just want to get it right before I start. I just need a little more time for preparation. But fam, let's be honest. Those are not reasons. Those are excuses dressed up as preparation. And listen, I'm not saying don't pursue excellence, but excellence and perfection are not the same. Listen, let me say that again. Excellence and perfection are not the same. Excellence says, I'll give my best with everything that I have. Perfection says, I'll wait until everything is flawless before I begin. Now, I once read a quote that said, perfect is the enemy of good. And I believe it's true, because you know what? If you wait for perfect, you may never release what is good. But even if you release what is good while focusing more on perfection rather than excellence and execution, what will it cost you? That's the thing you got to think about. Perfectionism comes with a cost. I hope this is good to you, man. I need y'all to drop it in the comments, share this with someone, because all I'm doing, I'm trying to help the people. So I want to give you a few steps. There are several steps that you can take to avoiding this vicious cycle of the 3 Ps, but I'm only going to give you 3. Number 1, quiet the perfectionist voice. When that perfectionistic, judgmental voice starts shouting in your head, recognize it's only just noise. Over time, if you refuse to feed it, it loses its grip. And I need you to talk back to yourself with truth and say, this is not perfect, but I'm still moving forward, and that's enough. That's the mindset you got to have. Number 2, separate yourself from your results. Your worth is not tied to whether something comes out flawless. An imperfect outcome does not make you a failure. And number 3, this one is very important. Reframe your relationship with failure. There are no wasted moves. Every so-called failure is really a lesson shaping you into the man or woman you're becoming, because I believe each stumble rather is I would call it progress, or, progress or lessons that can be learned. So let's talk about vulnerability for a moment, because you can't get to execution without vulnerability. Starting anything new, a podcast, a business, a new habit, a new relationship, requires you to be exposed, to be seen, to take risks. And that's scary, but it's also necessary. To start this podcast, in fact, I had to be okay with imperfection. Again, the glare in my glasses, stumbling over a couple of words, you know it. But God spoke to me and told me, don't focus on perfection, focus on execution. Allow yourself to be vulnerable enough to grow from where you are. In fact, the Bible says in Zechariah 4:10, don't despise the small beginnings, because God rejoices to see the work begin. Y'all caught that? God rejoices when it begins, not because it's perfect. Think about that. Some of y'all are waiting for the end before you even start. But growth only comes through the messy middle, the part where you learn, you adjust, you evolve. And can I be honest? That's where most people quit. They don't like the glare in their glasses, the sound of their own voice, and the look of their first draft. So they never hit publish. But here's the truth. You cannot improve what you don't execute. Even corporate America understands this, because the Gallup found that companies who valued execution and iteration over flawless planning were 25% more productive than chasing perfection. You got to reach a place where you are cool with imperfection, so as long as you don't compromise your standard of excellence. Let me say that again. Be okay with things not being perfect, as long as you're not lowering your standards of who you are and what you bring to the table. I don't care what industry you're in. I'm not saying aiming for perfect is wrong. I'm saying it's damaging to put yourself under so much pressure that if you don't nail it the first time or even the second time, you start questioning your own value. That's when the real conflict starts. You want to be perfect because you don't want to deal with criticism, public opinion, or even, I would say, your own high standards. But vulnerability requires accepting that you won't always get it right. And that's okay. The truth is, a lot of people struggle with feedback that's actually meant to help them. I know, because I was that person, because at one point I wanted everything to be perfect, but perfectionism had me rejecting what could have grown me. So let me say this. I need you to hear me on this one. Y'all got to do better on receiving feedback, for real. That one change could unlock a whole new level of growth in your life. I'm enjoying this conversation, and it's our wild card moment. We switch it up or go deeper rather. And for our wild card moment, I want to flip this real quick, and I want to ask you a question. And I don't know who's watching right now, but I wish I could literally be in front of your face right now in person to ask this question. What if the very thing you keep calling failure is actually proof that you had the courage to do what many people never will? The courage to do what some people never thought you didn't have the capability of doing. Think about that. The shot you missed, the relationship that didn't work, the opportunity you didn't fully capitalize on, they were not wasted. They are receipts of your bravery. I'm telling you, it's a mindset. But here's the kicker. Are you brave enough to stop beating yourself up for trying? Or are you only brave when you win? Because if you could only celebrate yourself when you're flawless, I'm here to tell you, You are not living free. You are living trapped and unauthentic. So let me wrap this up a little bit with an example. The iPhone or that you're holding, if you got an iPhone, uh, that was not launched perfectly. Apple released version after version, fixing, upgrading, evolving. Steve Jobs, had he waited for perfect, we would have never had the phones. And then you think about Amazon with Jeff Bezos, who started his company shipping books from a garage. It wasn't perfect, but guess what? He did it. But execution keeps you grounded. He simply executed. Execution keeps you grounded. It's like an athlete moving from college to NFL. He doesn't step on the field as an MVP. He steps on as a rookie. They have the skills, but now they have to grow into the league. It's a whole nother playing field, whole nother level. Same thing with this podcast. I'm not entering as a finished product. Although I have been speaking and coaching for years, I'm entering to a new space as a rookie. And that's okay because the path to mastery always runs through imperfection. Reid Hoffman, the founder of LinkedIn, said it best. If you are not embarrassed by the first version of your product, you have launched too late. I want to give you a challenge this week, all right? And we want to make this practical. It's time to stop hiding behind perfection and calling it preparation. So the first challenge that I want to give you is the imperfect start rule. This week, I challenge you to decide on one thing you've been delaying and commit to starting it imperfectly within 7 days. Don't overthink it, just start. Number two, the consistency tracker. Instead of measuring perfection, measure your consistency. Track how many days in a row you show up, even in small ways. I love celebrating the small wins. They'll get you to the big one eventually. Number three, the excellence filter. Before you stop to ask yourself, am I chasing excellence or I'm hiding behind perfection? If it's excellence, refine it. If it's perfection, release it. Perfection will rob you of your progress every time. God doesn't need you to be flawless. He needs you to be faithful. And if you will show up with what you have, imperfect, raw, vulnerable, he'll grow it into something greater than you can imagine. Psalms 138 and 8 tells us that the Lord will perfect those things that concerns you. Remember this, you cannot grow in the dark. You grow in the light where you can see what needs to be adjusted. So this week, I want you to stop chasing perfect, start executing, and stay consistent because success isn't found in flawless beginnings. It is built through faithful consistency. That's where it's built. So family, listen, that's it for today's episode of To The Core. This is your favorite cousin, Kevin M. Tucker. Remember, courage and intention is the way. Guys, as always, listen, subscribe to the podcast, turn on those notifications so you know when the next episode is launching. Share this with someone. I love y'all. I'm rooting for y'all, and I'll see you next time.